This is Photoshop tutorial number 6. I want you to go ahead and open this image called spot healing in Photoshop. So once you have this image open, we're going to do a technique called spot healing, which essentially means we're picking spots of the image and like points, spots, little small portions of the image and removing parts of that image that we don't want there. So you would usually use this technique to remove dust from an image where there might, if you zoom in on the sky, you would have all these little black spots, which would be dust specks. Essentially, the lens, when you're taking a photo, there might be dust on the lens and that comes up in the photo as little black dots. But in this photo, if I zoom in, you can see there's all these little spotty bits around that have been captured in the milk that we want to remove. So in order to do that, you want to choose this tool here. It looks like a band-aid. If you click on it, you have these other options here. So yours might look like this. This is the healing brush tool, but you want the one that says spot healing brush with the little dotted line around it. So now, in order to use this, you essentially you have your spot, your dot, your circle, and then you click on that circle. You hover the circle over the spot you want to remove, and then you click the button, and it will make that spot remove. As you can see, I've just done there. Now, the bigger you make that spot is not a good thing because it's taking data from a bigger area, which means it'll start to look distorted. It might not do it here, but yeah, you can see if I zoom in now, because I've chosen a big area, oops. Sorry, my Photoshop's a little bit slow. See, it's starting to, the first one that I did here, it created that folding effect on the milk, which we don't want. So best to keep the cursor small, essentially just around the size of the dot you're trying to remove, and just click on it and remove it. So a way to make this job easy, because you want to be zoomed in all the time doing this, you want to use keyboard shortcuts. So one that I use is the zoom in and zoom out tool. That is, if you hold Control, and I think if it's on a Mac it might be Command, but if you hold Control and then you press plus, you will zoom in, or minus, you will zoom out. So hold the Control button and press plus to go in, minus to go out. When you're zoomed in, you don't need to zoom out to move around. You can hold the space bar, and then if you hold the space bar, that hand comes up. When you're holding the space bar, if you click and drag around, you can move the image. So that hand means you're moving the image. So I can zoom in here real close, and then, okay, I need to move to another portion of the image, hold the space bar, and then I can move somewhere else. So I want you to use this image now and go through, zoom in to every portion of the image and do your best to remove all the spots. So you've got a nice, clean, clear portion of milk. Another tool that I want you to use to do this process, once you've had an experiment with the spot healing brush, is to use the healing brush tool. So this is a similar tool, but instead of just, sorry, my Photoshop's forever. Instead of just choosing a portion of the image and fixing up that circle, what the healing brush tool does is it'll create a selection. So if I hold the Alt, and you have to, I'm not 100% sure which one it is on Mac. It might be Option key, but we can look that up. But if you hop on PC, if you hold the Alt key, you'll get this cursor comes up. So what that's telling you is I can choose this part of the image, and I click. It's now selected that part of the image. So when I bring it over here, see, it's basically creating like a blurred version of that part of the image over here. It's blending it with what's there. Now that's not useful to do here, to put a blurred out cookie here, but what it is useful for doing is getting, say, reflections like this, where you don't want to completely just clone from one part to another. You can select, remember the Alt key, select here, maybe make your cursor a bit bigger, and then you can just sort of blur out that part there like that. And then it's good for using on lines in the image. So you see here how there's a line here and a reflection. So that's a good spot to use this tool there, where you just sort of heal the image essentially, where you're not completely blurring it, you're just choosing another part of the image to sort of blend with it. And now when I zoom out, you can see the sort of the way I've sort of, and you see it takes a bit of experimentation. You've got to make sure you select the right spot, because you can start to make it look a bit dodgy, but that looks pretty good. So I want you to use this image and go through using the healing brush and the Alt button to select parts of the image to remove the reflections, smooth out the reflections, and I want you to use the spot healing brush to zoom in and remove dust specks, little bits. And I want you to go into depth and get rid of all the little bits you can see everywhere to make it a nice, clean, white image of the milk with the cookie standing out. You might even want to add some adjustment layers and masks to brighten up the color of the milk, and use some masks to brighten up the cookie without overexposing the milk. Once you're done, I want you to export the image, same way as we have with the previous tutorials. JPEG, 1200 pixels we're doing. That looks about right. Export, and you're going to call this one Spot Healing Export. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Okay, done. And that's that.